and I found it was she. When I turned away my head.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychedelic here. Back with another Acid Archive diary. This is number what, 15, 16? I think it's 15. I think it is. Anyways, I got a cool one for you today. It's a new purchase actually, so it's good timing. So last night, if you guys follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you may have witnessed that I had a pretty cool DJ set last night. It opened with a harp player at the bar. Probably my favorite of the whole thing, the whole night, was a harp player, and she was kind of doing a little prelude to a metalcore, sort of modern metalcore band. And wow, that was pretty harsh in there for a small space like this. Still, I mean, they were good players and all, but it was very loud. The manager herself brought in like a whole jar full of earplugs because it was so intense, and such, like, the mid frequencies were out of control. Anyways, I know that's not what this video is about, but I wanted to get that out of the way. I will be kind of probably showing, like in my Vinyl Finds update, you know, kind of what I was spinning. I think I took a couple videos. It's kind of hard to do when you have your phone as a second turntable somewhat. I have another turntable, but considering the crowd that I get, which is pretty minimal, you know, I get a good cluster of people, but I don't take the energy to take two turntables down. I just use my phone as like transitional music as I change out the records. Kind of cheating, but who's gonna notice, right? But had a great time nonetheless. Just kind of groggy this morning afterwards, you know, having to shout in that place with the loud music, and still had a very good time, very good turnout. So what was I going to mention? Oh, well, I haven't really put my turntable back together on the stereo, so I'm not going to have like a little spinning action in the intro to this video, but hopefully get a little bit of samples of Chelsea in between this video too. You can get a little sample, a little taste. Did I already say the name of the record? It's Chelsea from 1970 on Decca. An original copy. There are no reissues or no... I think there might be like a CD bootleg out there, but no vinyl reissues that I'm aware of. And got this one on Discogs recently. Came very quickly in the mail. Had a little sticker here at the top, but thankfully it peeled off pretty well. You can see the residue yet, but it was on there for decades, I would imagine. Had the dollar sticker on there. But I'm very happy to track this down. This is like one of the very first, I'm not even kidding. You know, I joined Discogs back in 2014. This is one of the very first records I ever added to my want list because I liked it at the time and still do. I hadn't really listened to it in a while, but of course I remember my impression being very good. And this has got kind of a rural rocking, it's kind of a rural rocker, but it's got some prog leanings as well, in sort of like a typical kind of classic rock fashion, kind of reminiscent of, say, Glass Harp, which was also on Decca, so they kind of sound alike in a lot of ways, kind of like a lot of those like Universal type bands with Decca and the Cap label. You know, I think a lot of the stuff Universal was pushing out along this, you know, early 70s route was a lot more folk country rock based. At least that's my impression. Got a little sticker on the bottom here too. All lyrics copyrighted by Cold Duck Publishing. One and only album. They had a 2-album deal, and they were based out of NYC area. And you're probably ready for me to mention why it's so famous or infamous. It's got Mr. Peter Criss on drums here, who might sound familiar to some Kiss fans out there. You know, as a kid, I kind of liked Kiss, and I know some people out there do like Kiss watching this, but as a kid, I had acquired some Kiss records from this huge, the first big collection I ever got as a kid, had most of their albums all the way up until like Animalize. The first all the way up to Animalize, except for like Lick It Up. But, you know, as a kid, I kind of liked them. Nowadays, Not really. If anything, I like Detroit Rock City. That's still a fun movie, but yeah, Peter Criss, I believe he's this fella right here without the makeup. That looks like Peter Criss. Am I wrong? I think it's him. But yeah, I kind of like that album cover too. It's got a nice kind of hue of orange and purple, kind of focusing in on the band member there, the band members, and it's got some lyrics on the back, obviously. Otherwise, you know, not much about him. Doesn't have a bio on the back. They just kind of said, well, okay, here's Chelsea. Let's not promote it, which a lot of bands back in the day, they never promoted things like this. So, yeah, I don't know a whole lot about their back history. I guess they kind of, after the demise of this, shortly after it released, I think they formed into like a trio or a duo. Went under another name. I forget the name. But anyways, about this pressing though, about this particular copy, yeah, looking at it, looks kind of rough. Get ready. You know, it's got some nasty kind of scuffing there. But I took a chance on this one for 10 bucks on Discogs. Maybe you guys caught wind of it, maybe not. The seller listed it and said something, he described it as, it's still enjoyable listen, but there was like a skip or two, and the cover itself presented pretty well. And for 10 bucks, I was like, I'll take a chance on it. I mean, I never see it that low. It's a stupid low price. So I think nowadays it goes for about 100 bucks on average. And it's always like a very inflated price overseas, or whenever it's in the States, it's always beat to hell. But this one, thankfully, turned out a lot better than what the seller described it as. And I'm really happy to announce that, you know. I only heard like a few pops here and there, but if anything, the worst track, I think it's the track Grace, has the most surface noise. So that's fine by me. There are some great tracks on here though. Rolling Along kind of opens up with this kind of shuffling, you know, again, kind of a rural country rock kind of vein. And then Let's Call It a Day transitions into this really eloquent kind of moody blues-esque progressive pop kind of thing. It almost sounds like they're using Mellotron, but it's string arrangements on here on a few tracks. Like I said, that glass harp connection, it's got kind of a glass harp kind of vibe. And probably my favorite track on here, Silver Lining. It's a pretty straightforward kind of hard rocking track, but good harmonies. And I just like the vibe of the song, kind of power poppy in a way. Then there's a track called Hard Rock Music. It's kind of blues based, doesn't really go anywhere. It's almost like, it's like 5.5 minutes long, but it's not too bad. It's kind of a cool jammer. And then my other favorite track, Polly Vaughn. It's the second to last track on here. It's got a good groove to it. Nothing particularly stands out amongst the album that's kind of odd or strange really. But I guess, you know, the psychedelic flavor on here, it's pretty mild, but you can definitely tell they're coming out of the late 60s again. I always mention that, but it's a very post-hippie, kind of moving towards a little more progressive rock. And again, that kind of early dawning of the country rock styles pushing through. So, but I really enjoy it. You know, besides the Peter Criss connection, which is kind of cool, I really happen to enjoy that record, so I was really glad to cross that off for 10 bucks. Amazing deal. And the fact that it plays well, you know, I think I'll be sticking with that copy unless I see, you know, an upgrade down the road. Here's the Acid Archive entry. So let's see. Chelsea, New York City, gets the one rarity at the time. In here it says 1972, but I'm pretty sure it's 1970. This album has become desirable, mostly because it contains a pre-Kiss Peter Criss Some of it is uninteresting boogie rock, and at least one song, hard rock music, which prints bizarre, fake lyrics on the back cover, probably to disguise the real song's stupidity, is truly atrocious. A few songs rock convincingly though, and a few others are great orchestrated dreamy psych. Despite the variety of styles, the odd production creates a thematic consistency. All of the rhythm guitars are acoustic, and the leads are trebly and often ear-piercing. Somewhat. More so because the rest of the instruments form a wall of sound. On the good songs, the overall effect is pretty powerful, but on the weaker ones, it's just strange. The hard rock songs lacking electric rhythm guitars rely on lots of lead guitar, loud drums, and crazed vocals, not really to the music's advantage. A spotty album, but weird and distinctive. It has its moments. Also released in Australia. From AM, Aaron Malinsky. So there you have it. Another Acid Archives down for the books. And yeah, if you guys are interested, there's a couple, I think there's only a couple full album uploads of this. One of them is better than the other, I remember. When you listen to it online, it kind of sounds a little muddy. You know, the production, like they mentioned, is not the best in spots, but with the remastering, I think it could be done nowadays, but I think a lot of the Kiss fanfare aren't really looking towards this album to having it reissued. I don't think there's a lot of attraction to it. And I think Peter Criss and company are probably just trying to bury this in the past, a lot like Bob Seger doing Bob Seger System album Noah, never getting reissued. So it's kind of one of those cases, I feel like. So Chelsea, self-titled. And if anybody has this record, let me know. I don't think I've ever seen anybody, you know, in any Instagram group or on YouTube side of things ever show this one. So let me know if you got this one and what you think of it. It's kind of a straightforward kind of rock record in a lot of ways, but for what it offers, there's at least, you know, 3 really strong tracks. I'd recommend Let's Call It a Day, Silver Lining, and Polyvon. So, otherwise, I don't know what the other members went on to do. Peter Shipley looks familiar, like a name I've heard before. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, it also includes John Cale, who does like a couple appearances on here on the viola. If you can see it on the back there, he's credited. I forgot about that. Very cool. So, another one down. Thanks again for watching, and vinyl update will be coming shortly. I just picked one up in a small town south of Lincoln that very few people have on Discogs. People are trying to sell it for 150 bucks, and it's still sealed, and I have not heard the whole thing in full. So I will let you know what the verdict is on that. Until then, take care, check out Chelsea, and we'll see you soon.